Grow your practice, grow your wealth, grow your impact. Find out how to spend less time in the dental chair and more time on the things you love.
Welcome back to the Den Wealth Podcast. Glad to have you back in the studio today. Glad to have you with me. October was another record-setting month for the Den Wealth Podcast. I don't know if you knew that, Matthew. So another big number, another big month. So thank you all for listening. Depending on when you listen to this, it'll either be time relevant or not. But I think it's ultimately the message is still the same. But I was thinking about this time, one of the things that happened during COVID when offices shut down, one of the messages on this Dental Wealth podcast, and in fact, we had somebody, Matthew, said, hey, I listened to your Dental Wealth podcast, and, you were saying to put marketing in during COVID, and because of that, I said, expand when people contract. Yep. And this doctor said, well, look, man, that's exactly what I did, and it worked out great. Mm-hmm. I go back now to this point in time. So I'm filming this on November 5th. Yep. Okay. So look, you might be, by the way, this might be 2022 when someone's listening to this, and it might be March. It doesn't matter. Okay. It really doesn't matter because the messaging is still the same. But for those of you that are listening to this podcast real time, I want you to hear a message from me today. It's so important. Because I was thinking about what I want to talk about, and I was like, what is the message right now that I want to send to people? And it's this message of understanding that what happens, matter of fact, usually people take their foot off the gas at the end of the year, right?
Holidays come around.
And so what ends up happening, holidays comes around, it's turkey time, right? It's a little turkey time for everybody. And it's Christmas, like the big fat man's coming.
Yep, Christmas last 2 weeks, always.
And then it's January, and January's traditionally always slow. So what happens is we look at a time like this, and people go, I'm going to take my foot off the gas. Mm-hmm. They don't want to, but ultimately speaking, this year is actually pushing it another level, and here's why. How many people, Matthew, have you heard say to you, that this year sucks, or this year's bad, or this year's horrible. I can't wait till 2021, right?
Basically all the time. I mean, whenever I get these phone calls in, they are like, well, I mean, we were shut down for COVID for 4 months, and, we didn't do so hot. And I was like, well, I mean, I wish we could have talked to you. Like that one doctor was like, well, we had to do emergency patients, and we started marketing to say that we were doing emergency patients. He looked at it objectively, and that was the key to get through the COVID time. And we don't know what the future looks like, but you should always, have your foot on the gas. You should always be looking at what you can do.
Well, and I had a company recently come to me, and they were not, by the way, they're not a dentist, but I still think, I talk to companies that are outside dental. And I told you guys that I'm a consultant and not just in dental. But I had this company come to me, and it was interesting because they were blaming all their problems on COVID. And they were like, well, if it wasn't for COVID, we were going to do this. If it wasn't for COVID, we were going to do that. If it wasn't for COVID, we would have a banner year. And, I'm listening to this guy talk, and as he's talking, in my head, I'm going, bullshit, this is not what, you didn't listen to the Dental Wealth Podcast. Had you listened to the Dental Wealth Podcast, you would have made different decisions. Mm-hmm. So what's happening right now in the marketplace is people are not only taking their foot off the gas, they're like completely pulling that thing off and saying, look, let's wait till 2021. Yep. Now, yes, they're seeing, they're saying they're seeing the patients in the chair. Mm-hmm. Certainly, I'm not taking away from that. And certainly December tends to be heavy. Now, I did have a dentist last year tell me they took the last 2 weeks of December off. I was just completely floored. I'm like, I don't understand why you would take the last 2 weeks off of benefits for patients. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. So if you're going to do that, please stop. Don't do that. That doesn't make any sense at all. But thinking about this, I was like, look, there's 3 months right now. Let's go back to the same message. I'm going to pound this message again. It's so critical right now. People are going to pull back from marketing. By the way, some people were told not to market right now because Facebook was flooded with political ads. Did we pull back? No. I mean, everyone's like, political season, there's too much market, there's too much ads in the marketplace. We were still doing well during that time where people were saying we pulled back from our marketing because of the fact that, hey, look, all these political ads. I mean, I think I heard on the South Carolina Senate race alone, there was like 150 million spent, right? Yeah. It's hard to get through that much chatter, but we never stopped.
Nope.
And our results might be better on the backside of that, but we never stopped. And so I tell people, like, right now, like, if I were you, like, you listening, like, for me, what a freaking opportunity. Like, this is an opportunity again, because you're already hearing in the marketplace people saying, we're not going to do anything until 2021. Mm-hmm. It's so interesting how we've taken one rock going around another rock and we've made this like line in the sand, by the way, which it doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. We could technically say a year is 3 times. I mean, if tomorrow we simply just said 1 year is 3 times around the sun, right? 3 times, then that would be a year. And we would say 2020 is this much longer, right? So we just made this like line in the sand, right? It's completely man-made. Okay, because we could have made it 5 rotations. We could have made it 27 rotations. We completely made it up and based a calendar around it and all those things. But we know that there's been a lot of different calendars by different civilizations. And so we decided this was the calendar. And then somehow mentally, remember the last podcast, I was talking about the fact of, I said, there's levels. Mm-hmm. And I said, people create these socioeconomic levels and then they attach themselves to that level. Yep. And then when they go to leave it, they don't want to be lonely in a sense. So they self-sabotage to keep their friends and keep their network and keep everything happen the way they're happy. They, in a sense, create contentment. Now, they'll tell themselves they did not, but it's not true. They did create contentment. And the same thing happens right with this self-sabotage at the end of the year. Yep. Why? Like when someone comes back to me and says, well, January is always slow, I'm like, well, then do something about it. Like we know that we can do something about it. There's absolutely, if I walked into your practice tomorrow, I can fix your January, I can fix your November, I can fix your December. But what I like is my favorite time in business, is when people fall asleep. My competitors fall asleep. Mm-hmm.
And then I think the funniest part is, we mentioned it in one of the last podcasts, is the rest of your circle of your social network is going to do the exact same thing, and they're going to tell you, oh yeah, I'm taking those 2 weeks off in December, I'm taking it in November. And you may use the analogy, if we're all on a sinking boat, that doesn't seem like a great strategy. Maybe we should try to look at it from a different perspective.
We'll go back to that same thing. So if I'm about to take off 2 weeks at the end of December, and then I ask 10 of my friends and they're all taking off 2 weeks, I feel better about taking off my 2 weeks, right? And then I go, well, my team needs the time off and all these things. Now, we can create a scalable business, by the way, where everybody gets time off. I do believe that your team should get time off. That's why you want to create scalability so that your team does get time off. But when I look at the next 3 months, right, I think to myself, like, how many people will be asleep in the next 3 months? How many people will take their foot off the gas? How many people will pull back on marketing? How many dental offices are waiting? Matter of fact, hell, some of the marketing companies are telling doctors, wait till 2021, wait till the election's over. Yep. What bad advice. That's why I think the majority of the marketing companies aren't worth it.
Yeah. And I mean, to your point, I think this is a great opportunity for you as a listener to use this as a challenge yourself point. You have so much. You have the election. You have everybody else that's going to take their foot off the gas. And if you've always done that and you can look at the data and this year you do something differently, you're going to be able to see like crazy results. You have enough data to show you in the past that, you took those 2 weeks off. You started letting up a little bit, and this is how, the end of your year ended. Now you can challenge yourself and say, well, I have the cards stacked against me for, the next couple months. Why not go out swinging and see what happens? And then I guarantee you, just by, thinking differently, marketing now in November and December, you'll have your best November, December, and then you'll be able to look back and say, wow, I was able to do that with all this other stuff happening in the marketplace. Yeah. And you'd be like, wow, I overcame a lot to be successful in this time.
It's interesting. There's two people listening, two types of people listening right now. All right. One, by the way, you know who you are. One side is listening and they're going, they already have a list of excuses, right? They've got their mental paper out and they've already got lists. He doesn't understand this. He doesn't understand that. My market's different. My team won't work. I can't work those hours. I'm the only one in my family who can do the stuffing. Like there's already like this mountain of excuses, right? Which is when I said self-sabotage, right? So there's already like, they've got their mental list. I know who you are, by the way. You're listening right now and you've already got your list that's so damn deep that you've already shut down to what I'm going to say, and you're like you've built up this wall, and you're like, look, he doesn't know. My situation's different.
Mm-hmm. And you're gonna go call your friends and be like, yeah, you're in the same boat as me, right? Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, that's right. And then you go ask all your friends, you're taking that time off. You're making turkey and stuffing.
So you justify
and you're doing,
your excuses.
Look, I mean, it's the same thing where people ask me, like even physical fitness, they're like, how do you not get fat in the holidays? And I'm like, I eat one day a lot. I mean, so what am I supposed to, when someone says to me, like, let's talk about the foot on the gas, off the gas. Uh-huh. When someone says, it's the holidays, so I'm just going to get fat. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't go, like, that mindset doesn't, like, I don't understand. What do you mean? If anything, I better be watching it, right? Because I better be more diligent, because there's going to be some pie around and there's going to be some things. So I better looking at the scale, looking at the gym. And by the way, eat pie, eat turkey, eat whatever. That's fine. Spend time break bread with your brothers and family, and that's great. But that doesn't mean we slip. That doesn't mean we let go. But we look around and we see what everyone else is doing, and we go, they slipped too, so I can slip. In fact, I mean, the whole idea of, I can get into a tangent about the whole dad bod thing, but this whole idea of like letting it slip, it's almost cancerous to the way of thinking
and I think
and success.
It's hilarious, because I was just thinking in my own self, you let basically that one holiday, so Thanksgiving, it's one day. Let's call it 2 or 3.
That's 2 or 3, right?
Always
leftovers, right?
Control your entire month, because you'll go into November and be like, well, I'm going to eat a lot on that, on those 3 days of Thanksgiving. So why would I even try to work out now or eat healthy now? Because November's basically a wash. And I can relate that to a dental practice. Certainly. Because I'm like, you look at that 1 week of November and you're like, well, I think it's going to be a wash because it's Thanksgiving, families are going to be coming in, I don't know about the patients, and even Christmas time. And you're like, I guess we're just going to count that as a wash, instead of saying, why don't I work really hard now so that when that does come, I can do what I would like, and then I'll be fine and set myself up. So that's like a perfect analogy.
Yeah, I mean, and then it's like, and then December, by the way, some of you feel like you're being lectured to right now. By the way, I'm lecturing to myself right now. I'm lecturing to Matthew. Look, this is, by the way, this is, remember I told you you'll go find the talk? Like, this is the self-talk you need to be listening to right now, because this is where you need to get your mind processed and realize that everyone around you is going to go eat turkey and fall asleep. Mm-hmm. Everyone around you is going to get fat. Everyone's going to gain 10 pounds. Everyone's going to let their focus slip, their practice slip. You know what? Let them slip. Let them slip. Like, that's what I'm talking. That's my whole point of this podcast, is to say, look, man, don't do, like, I think I offended someone recently, and they happen to be a family member, but that's okay. And the reason I said to them, I look at what the average person does. I watch them. And whatever they do, when they zig, I zag. Mm-hmm. I look at what the average person does, and I do the exact opposite. Because I look at that and go, okay, so the average dentist takes their foot off the gas for 3 months. Yes, they take their foot. Now, it might be on marketing. It might be on, it just might be overall patient count. It might be average revenue.
Capacity.
But it starts to become this passive state. Then they take their focus off their physical health and their mental health. And all of a sudden it ends up, by the way, it becomes like this thing where they've let off for 3 months. Yep. I look at that and go, so the average doctor takes 3 months off. Yes, the average doctor won't get going again. By the way, they won't get going again until March. Let's actually be fair. They actually won't get going until March. I've been doing this for a long time. So any of you watching, listening, telling me he's wrong, I'm not wrong. I've been doing this for a long time. I've got my sample size down. I know it, I know exactly what this looks like. And so my whole point is to say, like, they don't actually get going again until like March, and they realize through the first quarter that they're not hitting where they should be. They're not even close. And then what ends up happening, so they might take off 4 months of the year, right? Okay, now what happens over 10 years of doing that, right? What is the long-term effect of that? What does that actually look like? So I look at this and go, okay, well, what if like what an opportunity, right? What a time that I have then at this place in time. One of the things that I get to do then is I get to say, like, I watch when everyone falls asleep. And I watch the fact that, for instance, for me, I watch that every single dental consulting company stopped. First of all, they either had 5 clients, they're not here anymore, or they took their foot off the gas. And I actually went, matter of fact, not even just marketing, by the way, just so people understand, I'm not just talking about marketing. Our team worked 3 times as hard through COVID. Yeah. We were working on weekends. We were working on nights. Like we stepped up our game. So I'm not just talking about marketing. I'm talking about when everybody fell asleep, we went to work. We kicked ass and took names. We helped our clients financially walk through every step of it. We talked to their teams. We did financial planning for their teams. We ended
Live
up on
like every day.
I mean, we were getting asked to do every single telecast to walk doctors through what to do. And so, like, I'm talking about in your practice, like, are you walking in there in the next 3 months? Like, I'm talking about even your team will follow your lead. So when you walk in there with turkey hangover and you're slow and you're not there and your game's not there and you're not focused, and then you're not marketing and you're not talking to patients and you're not moving it to the next level over the next 3 months, what will that cost you? And what I'm telling you is there's an opportunity in the marketplace, and the opportunity in the marketplace is for you to turn around and go kick ass and take names over the next 3 months. Set yourself one hell of a goal. And I would start off by setting myself a patient goal. I would know my average revenue per patient. I would look at the next 3 months and say, what are we going to do in the next 3 months? And I might put a profitability goal on the backside of that. But because I'm like, look, guys, if we can do this. So for instance, what if I told my team, like, in November and December, this is going to be our goal. And it's going to yield, you should know that it's going to yield so much profit. And then, hey, look, I'll be able to do this for you guys, do something really cool for them for the year or whatever, whether it's a year-end bonus or whatever. But this is what we've got to do. Like, we got to walk in here, get them laser focused over the next 2 months. Like, create a stretch goal. Create something that's amazing. And by the way, you don't even have to do it till January. Matter of fact, I would encourage you to do it to the end of January. Let me tell you why. Get rid of that damn fictitious number, December 31st, and go, look, in the next 3 months, let's start off. We're going to do November, December, and January. If we come in the next 3 months and we hit this goal, then we're going to do boom. Okay. Now, that's so cool about that is to say, no, we're not. I don't want anyone coming in here November 4th dragging butt, thinking they're barely getting by. I want to come in and say the next 3 months, our competition's sleeping. And then I would double down in my marketing attempts. I would double down in my communication with my patients. By the way, it's not just new patients, it's current patients. I would send twice as many emails, twice as many contacts, twice as many last second things. People think they can send out a postcard and an email saying, use your benefits before the year's over. And then that's it. And it takes 10 times the activity you think it's going to take. I want you to write that down if you're listening. It's going to take me 10 times the activity that I think it's going to take. If I'm going to set this goal, it statistically is going to take me 10 times. That's a real statistical number. It's going to take you 10 times what you think it's going to take. It's not going to take you one email. It's going to take you 10. It's going to take you one postcard. It's going to take you 10. It's going to take the over communication with everyone in your network. And those are current patients. Those are prospective patients. Those are people that have never heard of you. It's really, truly stepping up this time. And then when somebody walks in that door, overstep, over-deliver, over-experience. I mean, I'm telling you, blow them out. This is the time for you to be hitting the gas. Now, I alluded to the first group was going to be like giving me the list of excuses. The second group doesn't give a list of excuses. Matter of fact, you're listening to this podcast right now going, well, I do all those things. Do it more. 10 times more. I'm telling you, you've still hit a self-imposed limitation. When I tell you you've hit a self-imposed limitation, if you listen to this podcast and you say to yourself, no, I haven't, it's you. We all have self-imposed limitations. Elon Musk has self-imposed limitations. Bill Gates has self-imposed limitations. Don't, if you said to yourself like, hey, I don't have a self-imposed limitation, that's a lie. You're lying to yourself. By the way, it's the only one that, so the question is then how, you might have the team, you might have the scalability, you might have the talent. Then you say, well, okay, well then how do I use the next 3 months? How many practices do we have our clients bought in the last 3 weeks? I mean, all over the country, right? So like our clients are foot on the gas, right? Like we're foot on the gas. Move, like let people, this is like turkey time. Take advantage of turkey time. That should be like some kind of quote. Like,
and I guarantee you, like most people are looking at November, December, how they're going to finish up this year. I guarantee you, like we always talk about the rolling 12, look at the next 12 months. If you focus on that and you imagine if you powered through. November, December is directly going to correlate how you start in January. Most people look at it from the aspect of, well, January, I'm going to start getting going and things like that. Well, what if you were running into January at a dead sprint? What would that look like for your overall 2021 instead of taking the first 2 months, like you're saying, to get going? Like, because historically, people start to pick back up into February, early March for dental practices. What if January was like your best January ever? And that all starts with this month and next month.
That's right. It's setting up. Good point, Matthew. It's setting up. And then, look, you said you referenced something, the rolling 12. I only use a rolling 12 calendar, okay? Because if your financials are not on a rolling 12, okay, just so people understand, like for instance, if it's November, like I want to go from November to last year's to technically October, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a rolling 12 because I want to know what kind of practice I am today. So for instance, if I ask somebody in March, I'll say, tell me the size of your practice. They'll either go back to the year before,
yep,
or they'll go to what they think they'll be at the end of that year. So 2021, I ask you in March 2021, what size is your practice? You'll either give me 2020,
yep,
or you'll give me what you think you'll be at the end of 2021. Mm-hmm. But that's not even real time. And in fact, you give yourself, it's like losing weight. It's like you give yourself time. Matter of fact, one of the reasons people are going to eat like shit over the next few months is they're going to say, starting January 1st, I'm going to start a new diet. Yep. And then I'm going to get, it's probably never worked. It hasn't worked over a year, but you're going to tell yourself this year is going to be different, which is not, because you have to create a new system. That's a whole nother podcast. Mm-hmm. But what ends up happening is by using a rolling 12, you say, no. So for instance, if I was going to lose weight, I would say, what do I want to be at next November 6th or 5th or whatever, right? What do I want to be that day? Start today. Yeah. Why the hell are you taking 2 months off? Look, 2 months is a big part of your life. I'll guarantee you, at the end of your life, you'll wish you could add 2 months back onto it. Yep. I'll guarantee you.
And it's consecutive. So I think, if I use this as a weight loss analogy, there's a reason January 1st gyms are packed. You got to think of it. January 1st, people start going back to the gym, and it's always November, December holidays where they get lackadaisical and they gain all the weight back. And they're like, oh, I got to lose this weight. And they go back. But it's the cumulative effect that we always talk about, the little things, the compound effect.
Yep.
November, December, every single day matters. And when you're eating like crap every single day, you'll probably end up gaining 10, 20 pounds like you're saying. And then you have to use all year, use 8 months to lose that weight back. And then inevitably speaking, you're just going to gain it back again. And then it's a vicious cycle of that. And that's what we see in the dental world is.
Well, I mean, go back to that. So all of a sudden, November, so let's just say that, now people say, well, Eric, I actually have a pretty good December because people are trying to use their benefits. I'm telling you to accelerate even that because the patients that are going to be coming to you in January, like what are you doing to get the patients in January? So maybe you did this huge push to get people to use their benefits before the end of the year. Well, what happens in January when there is no rush to use their benefits because now they got 12 months? What are you doing about January now? You can't wait till January to work on January. It's too darn late. You should have been focusing on January. It's the same thing. If I want to be a certain weight in January, I don't wait till January to take off 20 pounds. I do it now so that in January I don't have 20 pounds to take off. Mm-hmm. It goes back to this whole thing of saying what do I want to look like at the end of January? And so when we start looking at the business, by the way, if all of a sudden I start off January slow and maybe February slow, and let's just say my net income drops and let's just say I'm negative cash 30 grand, okay? Mm-hmm. I got to make up 30 grand somewhere. And so the month that I do finally get that $30,000, I'm just making up a number, it could be 300,000 net income, all of a sudden now I'm like, oh man, technically I've got to go pay off the money I didn't make because I'm not using a rolling 12 and I'm not looking at the fact of going, no, I'm already upside down. If I was using a rolling 12, and this is the cool thing about using a rolling 12, is that at any given point, you know exactly where you are, by the way. If I said what kind of business you are, by the way, if you're at 1.99, you're like, this is what I need to do next month to hit it. Yeah. And then every month you're like, I need to do this because if you have one bad month, it drops your rolling 12. Mm-hmm. You can't have a bad month if you use a rolling 12. If you utilize a rolling 12, you always are looking at that month because if you have one bad month, now your valuation slips, by the way. Yep. Your valuation slips and your net worth slips because you had one bad month. Now you have to make up for that one bad month versus saying, I got 12 months. I mean, look, I'll eat crappy in January and February and March. I mean, I got 12 months. I lose 2 pounds a month.
Yeah.
Look what average people do and do the opposite. I assume you're listening to this podcast because of that reason.
Yeah.
The average doctor won't listen to this podcast. The average doctor tells themselves they don't have time. I saw a post the other day. By the way, we have Facebook marketing and those types of things. So I saw a comment. Did you see the comment come through the other day from a lady about the seminar? So by the way, there's trolls. I get it. It's 2020. People troll you. I get it.
Dude.
This doctor says on our post or on our ad, she says, one more seminar to take your money to sit in a room in a day where you could be producing. And I thought, wow, she doesn't even understand. She doesn't understand. She doesn't understand scarcity mindset. I'll guarantee I know that doctor. Mm-hmm. She's behind on her bills. She's behind on her promises. She can't figure why her practice won't grow. She blames everybody else for her problem. And when she sees the opportunity to grow, to have abundance, to try, she says, I don't have time. I don't have the ability. I don't have, and by the way, things are compound. That excuse, by the way, if she used that excuse with our leadership, she uses that excuse with
every her team. She has problems with her team too.
You've been there, Matthew. You know this person. You know this doctor. She has a problem with her team. She blames her team for all her problems. It's their fault, not hers. I guarantee it. By the way, I've never met this lady. I would be willing to bet $1 million that I know this person, right? Yeah. All of a sudden she'll call me up and she'll be like, I want the $1 million. No, I mean, listen, I'm being serious. Like, I'd be willing to bet in all reality, and I'm being very literal. I want everyone to hear me on this. I'm being literal with you to tell you, I already know that doctor. That's what I'm trying to tell you, is that I'm being very literal to say I know that person. That person already has so many excuses. You got to think about the psychology, the fact that she would take the time to write that, right? You understand there's a psychological pain that's happening with her. So she has a psychological pain, and her putting that message was lashing out at herself and blaming us. And so what happens is like, I know that person is also blaming everybody else, and they're blaming tower leadership. One more day out of my office. It's interesting. Like, I'll make you spend one day with me. I've literally in 5 hours, I've made people millions and millions of dollars. Yeah. She'll never get that million. She'll never recoup it.
It's still the same person that's Monday to Thursday too, and the seminars are Friday, Saturday.
Right,
That's
right.
like, I got to
That's
take
right.
production.
It's right. She's not even open that day, right? She's not even open. She's not even open that day. She's like, I'll be out of the dental office, right? She's eating turkey somewhere, right? But y'all know who I'm talking about. Like, that's scarcity mindset. I only have so much time. I only have so much money. They're going to come get my resources. When I talked to them on this podcast about scarcity mindset, she's the person I'm talking about. That is scarcity mindset 101. They might try to take a piece of my pie. They might try to take a little bit of my time. Instead of saying, pie is infinite. Time is infinite. The thing is, you have to go figure out how to go create it. And that's abundance. That's what understanding abundance is that it's
imagine what you could learn.
That's the person. That person. When I was asked by a top dental CEO, well, hey, why in the world do companies cap out at $800,000? She's wiped out doctor practices cap out at $800,000. Yep. Last podcast, I said, hey, come spend a few days with me. There was two people. Either someone on this podcast said, hell yeah, I want to go spend 2 days with this guy. Yep. This guy can teach me a lot. If I was to sit in a room with him, it's called proximity equals power. And the people that are willing to spend time with me are the ones that are going to grow. I mean, look, we were just talking about a doctor. I'm getting like all pumped up now. Calm down, Eric. Calm down. So about a doctor that I took a doctor from one practice to 3 practices within 12 months. A doctor from 3 million to 10 million within 24 months. And I could go on and on. 0 associates to 4 associates within 12 months. I could keep going and going and going and going. You don't want to spend time with me? Are you sure you don't want to spend time with me? And then, I'm just saying, this is my point. Yeah. Well, so if I say that, the first thing people, he's trying to get some of my money. Yeah. Hell no, I'm not. I don't need your freaking, I'm trying to show you that there's potential out there. I'm a purpose-driven person. I'm trying to show you there's potential. So when I talk about an opportunity like that, either the person goes, I would give anything to spend 2 days with him. Or I can't afford that.
Yeah.
I don't have the ability to do that. No, it's
do
just
my production
I got to eat turkey, and I got to, and I don't have a good team and all this stuff. And I want you to hear this. By the way, those of you listening to this podcast, like I want you to hear me. I'm trying to change your psychology around growth and abundance and the way you look at things and look at the world and look at your life and look at average versus being unbelievable. You want to know why I can take somebody from 0 to 100 million? Because I freaking know that there's steps in place, but a lot of it's mindset. And I'm showing you that mindset. The mindset of the lady that took the time to write that damn post will not take the same time to turn on the turkey, to encourage her team, to train her team, to build her processes, to understand her financials. Her marriage is going wrong and everything else. And I'm not trying to beat up on this. I have no idea who this person is, by the way. I deleted the comment. Yeah. I don't have any idea what their name is. But I've met her. And I've met him, and I've met them. And those are the ones that at this point in my career, I just go, well, it's nice to meet you, and I walk away. Mm-hmm. Because, look, there's so many people who want to build, who grow, to create, to promote, to become, to do amazing things. My life is committed to those people. Yeah. But I want you guys to use this as a reason. Now, if you're trying to figure out how to get over the hump, I'm trying to tell you how to get over the hump is to look at November 5th or 6th or whenever this comes out. I think it comes out next week or something at some point. Yeah. So whenever it comes out, you go, look, no, damn it. What do I got to do something different? What do I got to do? What disciplines do I got to put in place? What can I do with my practice? It's going to take me 10 times the activity. It isn't dropping $2,000 on a marketing campaign. It's so much more than that. It's 10 times the activity. It's flying to Atlanta and spending 2 days with me. It's growing your team. It's walking in there.
How to make up for
it's
the
hitting the
vacation
gym
time.
every
It's
day.
Opening capacity. It's figuring out. Like if you're planning on closing down on Thanksgiving, Thursday, Friday, why don't you try to make up that production by opening up 2 Fridays prior to that? I tell people all the time, I really want to take a vacation. Like the last few calls I've had is I really want to take a vacation in Thanksgiving or around Christmas time, and I don't really know how to do that. Well, make up for the production somehow.
Yeah.
Start opening capacity so that you can do that and not feel like you're going to be cash strapped. But you have to start prepping for that now.
Great point. Yeah, great point.
And it's frustrating to listen to that because, number one, put it on the calendar, and then if you're in a position, you'll see, you're like, okay, how am I going to make up for these days? Open capacity. It's pretty simple, and then it's easy to explain to your team too, and I get the pushback, well, I don't know if my team's going to want to do that. Well, if you explain to your team, hey, we're going to be taking these 3 days off, so we need to make up for that production, but that allows you to make sure that you're comfortable and you're home with your family. Completely different conversation than just saying, we're opening these 2 Fridays.
Yeah. Explain the conversation. Good point. Yeah. Well, that's where leadership comes in, right? Yep. And leadership, helping people know that you're trying to take care of them and you want to give them more time with their family. I'm trying to calm down a little bit. I got a little bit pumped up.
Fired up podcast.
I get fired up here. Look, I get fired up because I care. I want everyone listening to this podcast to know, like, the reason why this podcast was done is, I said, I really want to communicate with a lot of doctors. By the way, the numbers are phenomenal, guys, so thank you. But it's the same thing I've told you on other podcasts. Like, go back and take this. And I want you to take account. Don't ever say, like, I've got this down. The worst thing you can say is, I've got this down. I'm just telling you, you don't. And I'm telling you, you don't. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you have 10 locations. I don't care if you're doing 40 million. I'm telling you, there's another step to this. There's another level. There's another socioeconomic level that you're holding yourself back from, that you've got layers that you're not looking at. When I say take the foot off the gas, I'm saying there's a way to do this. If you need to take time with your family, by the way, but I never said don't take time with your family, and I certainly never said don't take vacation. I definitely don't said don't eat turkey. What I'm telling you is the next 3 months, your competition's going to bed. They will be asleep. Mm-hmm. They will be lethargic. They will refuse to show up. They won't come to things. I remember one time I had a doctor who told me that he wasn't going to come spend a day with us because of his Christmas party. And I just blew my mind. I was like, move your damn Christmas party. Like, this is your business. This is your livelihood. This is your impact. Yeah. This is your, so it's like, what ends up happening is,
we had a doctor come to the foundation, I don't remember, like a couple years ago, and as soon as the foundation was over, he went to his Christmas party.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, like, priority determines capacity. Yeah. You don't have any time to do anything until your basement's flooding, and then all of a sudden you make time, right? Mm-hmm. What ends up happening is priority determines capacity. I'll guarantee if your loved one, heaven forbid, ended up in the hospital, you'd make time to go see them. Mm-hmm. See, what is priority gets measured. If it's a priority to you to see this practice to its fullest, you'll make it happen. If your health is a priority to you. I remember this doctor one time who was heavily overweight and had already had 2 heart surgeries. and he was talking about not having a compelling reason to stop eating the way he was. And I remember just thinking, like, your wife's next to you. She's the compelling reason, right? Yeah. Because you're obviously, you know, I don't think the guy could probably even get life insurance. If a company won't give you life insurance, that tells you something, right? You can read in between those lines. And so, look, I mean, there was a compelling reason. If it's compelling to you, if it matters, it will get measured. You'll make it happen if it becomes priority to you. If it's not priority to you, then you've become complacent. Yeah. And if you're fine being complacent, then you're probably average. Mm-hmm. And if you're fine being average, then, you know,
this podcast might not be bad. Might not be great for you.
This podcast might not be for you, honestly. I'm being serious. Like, this might not be the podcast for you. I think there's the Retirement Corner podcast somewhere that you can listen to, and they can talk to you about how to manage your 401k. You know, how to sit around, maximize your Fox News watching time or something. You know,
how recliners.
Get your Lazy Boy on sale, AARP membership. I mean, that might sound harsh, but it's true. I mean, you're like, this guy's a real jerk. I'm not a jerk. I'm being honest with you. I mean, it's true. I mean, look, I was watching Fox News because the election's been going on. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to get into that today. But it was like every other commercial was an AARP commercial, right? So you watch Fox News, you get your Lazy Boy, AARP, get your Medicare benefits, right? If that's your main focus in life, hey, maybe that's okay. Maybe that's for you. And look, that's okay. But I created this podcast for the builder. I created this podcast for the one who wants to create something unbelievable. This podcast was created to reach out to the person who had potential and who has potential more than they ever thought that they did. That person that would have lived an average life with an average retirement, with an average legacy, who some advisor convinced that their whole goal of life should be to not outlive their money. And to take that person, show them a world that they never knew existed, build a company that literally creates legacy that they could not even imagine. And when they leave this world, leave with purpose, leave with intent, leave with legacy, leave with impact. The person who becomes worth 10, 20, 30 million. I built this podcast for that person. The AARP guy that wants to just sit and make sure they maximize their $30 a month. I saw this big commercial. It was like, hurry today and you could save $110 a month. This podcast was not made to save you $110 a month. It was made and set up for you to make tens of thousands of dollars a month in retirement. It was set up for the person who's looking to be that person. That person does not take their foot off the gas. They expand when everyone contracts. When people eat turkey, they're focused, and even on Thanksgiving Day, they're laser focused on their health, their marriage, their intentionality. It's the same reason why I would, even on a day with your family, like the last thing I would do is I would not fall asleep that day. I would not... I would not drink so much wine that I'm not with my family and not present and not there. I mean, look, life is about intentionality. And for the people that want to build and create something amazing, this podcast was built for you. It was built for you. Share this podcast with somebody. Share the message. Look, form a partnership. Here's a goal for you from this podcast. I kind of went on some rants today. I feel good about it, though. Here's a goal for you. Statistically speaking, people work better in teams. That's a fact. They just do. Mm-hmm. I want you to, one of the things I've encouraged you to do with this podcast is I've encouraged you to find a partner that you can take this podcast with, and you guys can hold each other accountable for the content that's in this. Whether you talk once a week. By the way, if you follow just this podcast, I'm just telling you right now, go implement it. It's phenomenal what you can do. But create an accountability partner. And I would create an accountability partner over the next 3 months. One of the reasons why I've put some people can come spend time with me in December is so I can be there and help you through those 3 months. If that's something you're interested in, yes, reach out to Tower Leadership. We can get you taken care of. Either way, I think you need to have an accountability partner that you can work with through the next 3 months. And I want you to have the best 3 months. In fact, I'll change that. You will have the absolute best 3 months. You have to own that messaging now. I'm going to have the best 3 months of my entire career while everyone's going to sleep. I'm going to kick butt. I'm going to take names. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to provide for my team. I'm going to provide for my family. And I'm going to take advantage of this time. While everybody else has taken the end of 2020 off because they said the year's a wash, you're going to go into 2020 like a roaring lion, and you're going to walk into 2021 ready to roll. And when people wait 6 months, because by the way, nothing's going to change in the next few months. By the way, just because one rock went on another rock, nothing will change. That mindset that says this year's a waste, I had the best year, and every one of our clients have had their best year too. Look, go back, finish strong, finish this year strong, and then walk into 2020 roaring and make 2021 not just your best year ever, but by far your greatest year ever. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.